The way I typically debug issues is by ensuring that I have the latest WPA supplicant, latest host APD, latest bleeding edge code, and then backpedal there until I find the respective. That said, first thing I do is I ensure that I just use the latest supplicant and I connect it. Using the supplicant manually without a connection manager. I completely ignore the connection manager, and that is the last component that I actually focus on. Both WPA supplicant and HostAPD have debugging flags that you can use to increase the verbosity of the messages that are coming up on the log. I recommend to use this and to post those logs when reporting. If you're working with an AP, you should at least be using 0.8.x branch of HostAPD. One of the big differences between Network Manager and FlimFlam and Conman is that Network Manager will scan every 60 seconds without any trigger. FlimFlam and Conman use a BG scan module within WPA supplicant that allows it to only scan if you reach a certain RSSI threshold. This is really good for roaming purposes. There's also a time limit that's configurable, but I believe the defaults are used. I can't recall the default. Another user space component part of new 8211 drivers is the regulatory. Regulatory code is unified with all CF211 and MAC211 drivers. There's one user space component called CRDA. CRDA is a user space application that gets used whenever a UDEV event gets triggered by the kernel that requests a regulatory domain to be sent to the kernel. These type of requests get sent either by the core CF211 module or by drivers. The user may also request a new regulatory domain. User regulatory hints are only used by the Linux kernel to further enhance regulatory. That is, if you're using, for example, an Atheros wireless card and that wireless card is configured for operation in the United States and you select Japan, you will not automatically get channel 14. But if Japan actually disallows something, we will disable it. On the other hand, if you have a Japan card and you bring it to the United States, and you set your regulatory domain to United States, we will disable those channels that are not allowed in the United States, like channel 14 and 13. So debugging CRDA really just consists of using UDEV-ADM. UDEV-ADM is an application that you can use to monitor UDEV events from the kernel. Given that regulatory events from the kernel simply are UDEV events, you just want to monitor for the kernel UDEV events and see if you have user space processing them. If you do not, then that's likely your issue. If you're using a kernel that's older than 2633, Compat Wireless will also build a module called Compat Firmware that you will need to install. Compat Firmware requires also a respective UDEV rule to be installed. If you're using Compat Wireless install script, it should be installed for you, but if you have a custom install, you should make sure that you install that UDEV rule yourself. Now, packet log is one of the features that Atheros drivers typically has available for further debugging of the 8211.5. Packet log is supported in Ath9k. That patch, however, is now merged upstream into the kernel and is available under the crap directory of Compat Wireless. We do not and will not release the Perl script that is used to interpret the output binary. If you're looking to debug MCS rate information using Ath9k or other 8211 devices as sniffers using the Linux kernel for your sniffers, you will want to use at least 2639, given that that is where the MCS rate information will become available. You'll also want to use Bleeding Edge of Wireshark to ensure that you have that capability available to you. We rely heavily on communication using the public Linux wireless mailing lists. We also have public RSC channels that are available for users and developers. At Atheros specifically, we have private internal Ath9k mailing lists that you can use and subscribe to for development or questions. We let community members, some community members actually post those mailing lists as well for general questions. We have respective private At6KL development lists too. And we have an internal RC server that you can use, and it's Ath9k is one of the channels that we have. That's the only channel that we have right now. I encourage support engineers to review the Linux wireless mailing list, review the internal mailing list, and also join the IRC servers and channels that are available. I highly recommend IRC. I think it will help everyone in getting questions answered quickly and also getting themselves familiar with the process that we use for development and also for support. Some installs of Windows actually disables usage of IRC, so good luck figuring that out. You can try to figure that, how to enable IRC access, but if you don't and you really want to use IRC, just install Linux or get a live CD and get yourself an IRC. Another recommendation that I have is for you to go to the Wireless Wiki, create an account, then go to the settings section, then go to the notifications section, and under the subscribed wiki pages you should put **, so that way you subscribe to changes for every page on the Wireless Wiki. This should give you emails of any changes that are made to the wiki and should keep you up to date with any of the changes that we have for development, either documentation or just general API changes or Compact Wireless releases. I will note that we have put a lot of work into the documentation that goes into the wireless.kernel.org wiki pages. I highly encourage that anyone working and supporting our drivers goes and reads those wiki pages thoroughly before asking questions, because those questions typically are answered on those pages. Apart from the wireless.kernel.org wiki, Atheros specifically has a wiki called Camboji that you can use for internal private information that is not available on the Wireless Wiki. We tend to promote getting all information on the public wiki though, and only keep private information on the private wiki. Wi-Fi Direct is supported and maintained through WPA Supplicant, and any Mac 11 driver that supports access point mode of operation and allows us to do some filter changes will support Wi-Fi Direct. But Mac 11 currently lacks Wi-Fi Direct power save enhancements. Once those are completed, Mac 11 should be capable of being used for certified Wi-Fi Direct capability. As it stands, that is not the case. AP mode of operation is supported through HostedPD with Ath9k. We have gone through test cycles with it, and we do have requirements to support AP mode of operation with different customers. DFS support is not yet completed, but we do have requirements for it for customers.